Hello, I'm Dr. James Comer, Professor of Child Psychiatry at Yale University, Associate Dean of the Yale School of Medicine, and Director of the School Development Program at the Yale Child Study Center.
How can I prepare my child for the first day of school?
One of the ways you can help your child is to perhaps take a visit to the school ahead of time before school starts. You might go the route of the bus in your own car or have someone take you. Or if you walk to school, you might walk to school with the child. Some schools have orientation sessions for parents where they come in before school starts and they introduce them to the school. You want to be sure to take advantage of that. Meet the teachers, learn about the building, what goes on in the building, go into the classrooms, take your child into the classrooms so they see what's going to happen ahead of time, where they will be, what they do. All of those things can reduce some of the anxiety that you have and some of the anxiety that your child will have. And hopefully other parents will be there and you'll meet some of those parents and other children. But try to go before the first day of school, and that will make it less troublesome and you'll be less anxious. Also, it helps to give your child a realistic explanation of what goes on in school and what to expect on a day-to-day basis. And so it's important to talk to school people, get some idea about what goes on so that you can explain to your child. And some children will have unrealistic ideas about what will happen. For example, a child might think that he or she will learn to read on the first day of school. You've been talking about school as some place where they're going to grow up and learn to read and be able to do all the things you can do. Well, they may think they can do it in one day. So you have to talk to them and explain in a realistic way what to expect in school.
How can I prepare after my child starts school? Will there be any changes in his or her behavior?
The first few weeks, you can expect that your child might be upset and come home wanting to be more like a baby again, wanting to suck his or her thumb or cling to you. And in part, that's because children have mixed feelings. They have a feeling that they want to grow up and become independent and on their own, and at the same time, they still want to remain babies where they're comfortable and taken care of by you. So the first few weeks of school, you may see a few problems and the child seeming to be much more babyish than before. And you encourage them, help them understand that they're going to be successful, and most of the times they are successful. If there are problems after 6 weeks or so, then you'd better talk to the teacher and see if you can't work out ways of being helpful together in working with your child.
What skills does my child need to be successful in school?
Again, the best way for them to be successful in school is to have had experiences at home where they learn to interact with other children, interact with other adults. If you've taken them to the library and church and a variety of other places, you've taught them how to interact with other people successfully. And that will help them in school. They'll know how to interact with their teacher in a way that they will elicit a positive response. And they elicit a positive response when they feel good about themselves, when they're eager to learn, and when they present themselves as somebody eager to learn and confident and able to interact well with other people.
Should I become involved in my child's school?
And so it's very important that parents be involved in the work of the school and that parents and teachers know each other and trust each other. And you shouldn't think about turning your child over to school people and they're going to teach your child. It's you and the school people together teaching your child and continuing to teach their child. After all, you were the first teacher, they're the second teacher, and now you and the school together are going to work to help your child grow and learn. It's very important then to attend all of the activities that take place in the school whenever you possibly can. And it's also important to be involved. Some schools have activities where parents and teachers do things together, plan things together. If you can be involved in doing that, that's very helpful. That says to your child that we know and like the school people, and that allows the child to know and like and accept the school people.
Should I read to my young children?
Now, one of the most important things you can do in preparing your child for school is to read to him or her. Now, reading often takes place in the evening at the end of a very busy day, and your child has you to himself or herself, and usually it's a warm, good experience, good emotional experience, and child cuddles up on your lap, and that's what makes reading important. It's that the child has you, and that's important. We used to ask our mother to read the funny paper, and we would have her read it over and over and over, not so much because we wanted to hear the words, but because we wanted to be with our mother. So reading to your child makes it a good, warm experience. Now, the other thing that happens is that the children like to hear stories that deal with their fears and their anxieties and their doubts as little people growing up in a very complex world. And so they want to hear those stories again and again. You'll notice eventually, probably about now, that when you turn to the page, they begin to read from memory. And you'll get excited and convey your excitement to them and to grandmother and to everybody else who's interested. And that makes reading very important to them because your child wants to please you and the grandparents and everybody around. And that really is the motivation for learning, not only to read, but many other things, doing many other things. It's your pleasure in their success. The other thing is that the child will notice that you read from top to bottom, left to right, and that you exclaim in certain ways. Now, all of those are pre-reading skills, and as a result of that, your child will go to school either reading or ready to learn to read, and so that makes reading a very important experience.
What experiences should my child have before he or she begins school?
Every time you go out with your child, you have an opportunity to explain to him or her how the world works and to correct any lack of understanding or misunderstanding that they have, and to just help them be curious about things. When you go to the grocery store, naming things that they touch or that they're interested in, discussing any questions they have about it. They will have many, many questions, and as difficult as it can be sometimes, you want to answer all the questions and encourage them to ask more questions, because that's thinking. You're encouraging them to think, reason, and that's very important. That's good preparation for learning. That's what makes them eager learners in school. Going to the zoo, going to a museum, any place you take them, there's an opportunity. On the playground, there's an opportunity. So that wherever you go, discussing, talking about things, explaining things, really very important preparation for learning in school.
How do I discipline my child and teach him or her to use self-control?
When it's necessary to discipline your child, it's important that the punishment fit the crime. Now, most of the time, discipline or punishment isn't necessary. You can just talk to children about what you want and what you expect, and they, most of the times, will listen. But sometimes it's necessary. And you want to make certain that the punishment fits the crime, and crime in quotes because it's not really a crime. But you want them to learn. You want to get their attention. And you don't want to punish them in ways that are troublesome to you or that require long punishments, 2 weeks where they can't do certain things. But you might have them, if they're troublesome at the dinner table, simply go across the room and not sit at the table for a few minutes. And you might say, I want you to sit over there until you can get yourself under control, and then you can come back to the table. Now, what are you doing? Instead of punishing, you're really helping them gain personal control. And that's important preparation for interacting well with other people, handling themselves in a variety of situations. And you haven't punished them, you haven't made them feel guilty, but you've helped them learn that they have to have control. And that also helps them feel good about themselves when they can pull themselves back together and come back to the dinner table. And that helps with their self-concept as well.
What do I do when my young child expresses anger?
Because children have lots of fears and lots of doubts as little people growing up in a great big frightening world, they sometimes get angry, they sometimes say they hate you, they sometimes say they love you, and you don't want to take these things so personally, and you want to understand that they don't really mean that, but those are fears that they have. Children have fantasies also, and those fantasies, they sometimes worry that their fears and their anger and their bad feelings about you will make you disappear. Well, that's very frightening, and they're very afraid of that, and they want to believe that you will disappear, but they also want to believe that you're going to come back. So instead of being punitive and angry and punishing, you might say to a child that says, I hate you. Say, well, you hate me right now, but you're going to like me again in a little while. You let the child feel the anger, express the anger, but at the same time, you help them understand that you're going to be there, that you can take the anger, but there are also certain things you don't want and you don't like. Now, in that regard, you also want to think about the fact that you don't want your child to think that he or she is a bad person. And so what you might say is that I like you. I don't like that behavior, and I don't want that behavior. Now, you don't want to say that from across the room someplace. You want to come to your child, talk to your child directly, and make it clear what behavior is acceptable and what behavior is unacceptable. Now, when you do that over and over, and you show warmth and caring and love and guidance and direction to your child can go off to school and interact with other children well, interact with his or her teacher well, and elicit a positive response that will allow other people to accept him or her, and for him or her to accept other people and be a part of the group and have a good chance to succeed in school.
Hola, soy Lupina Vela de San Antonio, Texas. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes de parte de la compañía Educational Management Group. Como consultante de educación y pariente, quisiera platicar con ustedes acerca de sus niños de 5 y 6 años.
The park can be a great spot for feeding breadcrumbs to ducks or pigeons, reading, playing catch, or just taking a walk. A day at the zoo is an informative and fun experience. Find out if your zoo has any special programs. See if they can send you information. The Capitol building is a wonderful place to visit. Taking your children there can help them understand some basic concepts about government. Set up a special spot in your house. For example, choose a spooky story. Make a tent out of 2 chairs with a blanket over them. Read the story by flashlight. What other special storytelling places can you create? The library is a wonderful place to take your children. You can get books on any subject and it's free. Check with your local library to see if there are any special storytelling sessions your children could attend. Does your child know how to mail a letter? A visit to the post office can be a great opportunity to learn. Go to the airport or near the airport and watch the planes as they take off and land. See how many different colors, sizes, and types of planes you see. Which are the loudest? The quietest? Are there any children's museums in your city? Many cities offer free and inexpensive museums full of things for children to explore and discover. Check in the phone book and see if these resources are available to you. Look under Museums in the Yellow Pages.
My favorite things to do.
Most farmers use milking machines to milk their cows. The milk produced by cows is called raw milk. Farmers store the raw milk until it is picked up by the processing plant. The raw milk is put in a machine called a separator. The machine separates the raw milk into skim milk and cream. The skim milk and cream are stored in tanks before being pasteurized. Whole milk is not separated. It goes straight to the pasteurizer. All milk is pasteurized. The pasteurizer heats the milk to kill harmful bacteria. The fat globules are broken up in the homogenizer. The packager puts milk in containers. It is then sent to grocery stores for people to buy.